Welcome guys to this part 2 series of this video on procurement process. And from the previous video we did say that we are looking at these from three phases: the pre-ordering, the ordering, and post-ordering. So now in this part we'll be expanding on this, what exactly we mean by this. And if I was to break down the procurement process, of course there are many authors who have different activities or sub-activities under each, but if I were to break it down, I would have the following. The first one would be the recognition of need. The second one is the accurate description of that need. The third one is determining the sources of supply. The fourth one is preparation of purchase order. The fifth one is follow-up and expediting. The sixth one is receipt of goods. The seventh one is clearing invoices. So let's begin with the first one. The first one is the recognition of need. From the previous video we did say or mention that when you're thinking about a need, this is coming from the user department. It's coming from the user department. And it is the user who is telling you exactly what they need. And they do this by coming up with what you call a requisition note. But as we think about this, I want you to know that there are four types of needs in each case. Now, you have a need which is new or existing. Then you have a need which will need or use the existing supply system or new. So we have four possible combinations. Combination one is where the item is new altogether. In other words, the organization has not used such kind of an item before. And I lost my train of thought. Let me start again. You have an item which the organization has not used before, which means it will come from a wholly new supplier. Then you have an item that is existing, that is likely to get new suppliers to meet that need. Then you have an item that is new, that is going to be using the existing suppliers. Then you have an item that is existing that will use the existing suppliers. So in terms of the procurement process, the fastest process would be around this section, because this is an existing item that is using the existing supply base. So you're basically renewing the order. You simply send an LPO. Now, all this that we're talking about here can apply under one, where you have a new item that will need a new supply base. If it was an existing item that we use a new supply base, again it can use it, but not the whole process. Again, if you look at 3, it's an existing supply base coming up with a new item. We may not use this whole process altogether. So when you're defining the need and it's a new under quadrant 1, there's what you call the early supplier involvement or early buyer involvement. And this is where you are discussing with the supplier about the need that you have so that you can be able to specify it better. I'll repeat. This is when you enter into negotiations or conversations or whatever you want to call them with your suppliers, and what you're basically trying to do is understand the supply bit of it early enough so that you can be able to come up with a clear and concise specification. Because we say in specification, it should be clear and it should not be ambiguous. In other words, two suppliers understand something different about it. Let me give you an example with a procurement of a bus. Now, if you simply tell the supplier, I just need a bus, you're likely to get very many classifications. If you just say, I want a 62-seater bus, you're likely to get very many characteristics in terms of the width of the bus, the height of the bus, the distance between the seats of the bus, the entertainment aspects of the bus, and the safety aspects of the bus. For example, in JQuat, we have a very clear distance between seats and the height to width ratio, which affects the stability of the bus. Your Kenya Mpya sort of bus is very important. So when we are engaging our suppliers in this stage, we want to be able to come up with a very clear requisition note so that each and every supplier understands it. That is under the recognition of needs. Now, when you go to the that's the recognition of need and the accurate description. When you go to the sources of supply, we are basically engaging ourselves with the make or buy continuum, and this we'll do it completely in a whole different video. You're deciding, do I make the product myself, since that's a need, or do I buy it? For example, again, JQuat, do I make the office furniture through the estates department, or do I buy from Furniture Palace? And what will be the basis for deciding to make the product or to buy the product from other people? Now, this will be done in another video. So once you determine your sources of supply, whether internal or external, you raise the LPO. This we covered in that video. Once you send the LPO to the supplier, the follow-up and expediting has two options. Every LPO has a supply window period of between 30 days to 90 days, depending on the item in question. So when you are following up, you are politely reminding the supplier that they have a pending order to fulfill. When you are expediting, you are basically applying pressure to the supplier. I'll repeat. If you are following up with the supplier, you're basically calling them, just asking them how far has the order gone, and that is just to remind them that they have an order to fulfill. But when you are expediting, you can go as far as threatening to cancel the order, making company visits to the supplier to ask what the holdup is all about, or even going all together and canceling that order. That is under the expediting phase, when we see that the supplier does not deliver within good time. So once the goods are received, we did mention here that in this section we are talking about creating a goods received note, an invoice, and marrying this here with the LPO. I'll not belabor on that, and clearing invoice, I'll not belabor on that. But something that is important to note across this whole process over here is it will be different. It will be different if you are dealing with a product or a service, it will be very, very different. And this is what I mean. If I am dealing with a product, and a product of a low amount of money, I'll be requesting for quotation. But if I'm dealing with a service, I'll be asking for request for proposal. I'll repeat. If it is a product, a tangible product, we are dealing with a quotation. If it is a service, we are dealing with proposal. Now, when they will be responding with the proposal or the quotation, there will be the technical aspects of that, and there will be the financial aspects of that. And this is why it is important. When you are doing the tendering process or the requisition for quotations and proposals, we basically analyze suppliers on two fronts. We basically analyze our suppliers on two fronts. Before we even decide we will take supplier A, let's assume we have supplier A, B, C, and D. If we are dealing with the bus over here, they will give us the technical proposal of the bus. In other words, what are the characteristics of the bus that we are dealing with? For example, if Jomo Kenyatta is buying an ambulance, supplier A decides to take a normal van and customize it. Supplier B decides to create an ambulance from scratch. Supplier C decides to do a supplier A, and so forth. So we have two main differences. We have an ambulance built from scratch and an ambulance that is custom made. This is likely to be expensive. But before we even go to the financial proposal, we have what you call a point system, where we say, in terms of the technical proposal, each aspect carries 1 point, for example, and the supplier who does not go above 30 points, their financial proposal is not opened. The suppliers who go above 30 points, their financial proposal is open. So let's assume supplier A had 98 points, supplier B had 20 points, you have 35 points, and you have 46 points over here. So we look at the technical aspect and we knock out supplier B, and we're left with A, C, and D. We open the financial proposal. We discover the ambulance here will cost us 3.8. We discover here it will cost us 3.7, and here it will cost us 2.5. From our initial discussion, it seems that he has the highest technical points and the cheapest. So by precedence, this is the winner of that tender. But let us assume we wanted a customized ambulance, and D give an ambulance built from scratch, and D is supplying an ambulance built from scratch. Then it will mean that even though their points are 46 compared to A, they will win the tender even though their price is high, because we are looking at the technical proposal and not only the financial proposal. And this is how you get the most competitive bid. You're not looking for the cheapest. You're looking for a combination between the offering that they are giving and the price that they are giving and the need that you have for the organization. So in the next video, we'll be talking about the make or buy decisions in organizations. Thank you.